Hello and good morning, traders. It is April 25th, 2024. Welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's dive into our recap and then we'll update our session plan and levels for today. So, taking a look at the ES here, kind of an interesting landscape of what happened yesterday. We had a line in the sand area right here. We were bullish with scenario 1 being a hold up above and scenario 2 being a real breakdown below that area. I had mentioned with the line in the sand, it was kind of a bullish zone, even down below it just a little bit, kind of into this neutral zone as well in the DMI. And we ended up seeing really just scenario 1 for the whole entire session. But the way it kind of played out is interesting in general. So we're going to be focused on scenario 1 here for the line in the sand in the general landscape of the DMI. Let's start at the beginning here. Into the open, we were seeing an interesting hold up above this neutral reference. So definitely some opportunities with scenario 1 to get involved at higher locations on neutral references for continuation, because we've pushed up, we've accepted above that neutral reference, and we're holding that zone. So some lower edge inflections, scalps definitely, because if you were doing something like this, you'd want to see this area get cleared out to continue to the target, right? And since it wasn't clearing out, definitely a hint that the pressure isn't that strong on the bullish side of things right here, right now. So the market kind of sells off back into our line in the sand zone where we get an opportunity with scenario 1 to get long in this section here. And then, of course, also along in this section here, really for scenario 1. Then we get our release up into our first neutral target, never able to clear that out and continue to the main target area. So once again, this neutral reference here becoming kind of a key factor for us in continuation to the upside. The market pushes a little bit lower than our actual outlined line in the sand, but still into a generally bullish area, and then releases really, really well kind of into the afternoon, hits a first neutral destination target, doesn't really have much for us by way of continuing to the upside, pulls back, gives us another opportunity for really end of day scalping if you're somebody that does that into the close, with a bullish opportunity here on this line in the sand with the acceptance picture still bullish on scenario 1, and then kind of completing that move up into the neutral zone before the overnight kind of taking out our bullish zone. So in general, an interesting session in terms of how it played out with scenario 1, but still, scenario 1 was pretty much all that was on the table for the entirety of the session. So being bullish in this zone here, this zone here, and this zone here were kind of our main plays and our main opportunities for scenario 1. Now taking a look at what's going on today. Today requires a little bit more of some nuance because we're at areas and destinations for some bearish moves. So let's start with just covering the general landscape of the context. We have a couple of short-term bearish ideas that started here and here and are now into a target area. So this is their general target for that move. Now that that move is down here, this is a neutral zone, but it has a bullish skew to it because the idea from the bearish line in the sand up above here is a rotational one or a balanced idea. And so what it's doing is it's rotating down to its balanced lows. And then this particular area down here becomes a spot where we monitor for bulls. Now it's neutral right now because it's a destination. It's a trade idea being completed. So what we're looking for at this target zone is some stabilization. We're looking for the bulls to kind of hold this area and then show on the intraday landscape with order flow, with good conditions on our intraday framework, whatever, that the bulls are holding this area, then this zone will become bullish. So we're coming into a decision point, and that's an important situation for us in terms of narrative and context. It's generally bullish right now, but we're waiting for that stabilization. If we start to see that stabilization, then it becomes an actual bullish zone, and we trade it just like any line in the sand, right? With the expectation being that scenario 1, we hold this area, release out of it, and then we come into first target is here, and then we start heading in to test the bearish ideas that we're playing out up above, right? So, but this is our main first target with this rotational kind of move from these lows, if we get that hold, which once again, that's why this is neutral. If we don't get that hold and it just continues to break down and we hold below it, then it's a bearish environment in the short term. And the idea is that you're looking to stay bearish down into this zone here. And then at this zone, very similar situation, but a little different context. we're coming into higher time frame kind of lows that offer support, but our lower time frames would be in bearish positions. So kind of like where we're at right here, where our shorter time frames right now are in bearish positions. They're coming into target or destination areas, but we're in a spot where the bulls can hold rotational lows, and we're waiting for that stabilization, and then that's kind of like confirmation that we're holding those rotational lows. If that breaks down, coming down into here, once again, a higher time frame kind of rotational low area, but we have shorter term bearishness because this area broke down and we've now shifted conditions to the downside. So I know that this is a lot more complicated without you knowing the specifics of the NADRO framework. If you do, then most of this should make a lot of sense. If you don't and you're just using these to trade from, what I'm essentially laying out here is this neutral area is not bullish yet. You're going to wait for a stabilization, and then this is scenario 1. If the stabilization does not occur, if we never get that, and the breakdown into scenario 2 is a move from neutral zone to neutral zone. And then that would be kind of the main game plan for today, with this being our target for the downside with scenario 2, and then this being our main target for the upside with scenario 1, and then extension targets up into these bearish ideas or these bearish zones for scenario 1 if it really gets bullish out of here. All right, so that's the general game plan around today. But for right now, you have to wait for stabilization with scenario 1. Without that stabilization, you look for scenario 2 if we get full acceptance below this neutral zone. All right, trade well out there, mind your risk, and let's get after it.